so exciting, guys. I haven't actually streamed live to YouTube directly since I've had my Zoom account. So that is super exciting. Redirecting to YouTube. Woo! I'm going to share with you the code if you don't mind. Then if you are willing to share it, each of us just take a moment to share it to a group. Guys, I haven't actually streamed live to YouTube. We're just going to pause that. How do you, there we go. Perfect. Okay. Yay. Okay, that is disabled. Why is that? Oh, that was supposed to be the point. Okay, well, we got to get that fixed. But I can send you the video details for it. And if you don't mind sharing it, that will be immensely helpful. And Robin, I would like to play your song Freedom tonight as well. Is everyone familiar with album 22, by the way?
No.
No.
What? Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm going to just adjust this, and then I'm going to get you the link so you can share it. And oh, I could have put that here. I'm just putting this here, and thank you for your patience very much, everyone. We have the YouTube link there shared in the comments section, and I appreciate each of you for showing up today. I want to be respectful of your time because time is precious, and ultimately we need to be the guardians of it responsibly. So that is very exciting. And the information, I'm just going to share the login details. What? Okay, here we go.
Freedom. Freedom.
Why did she dial someone? It's not.
We've already got that. There's that. Oh, I was trying to share that to YouTube. Here we go. Here we go. Perfect. Thank you for your. This is now more accessible. Now people will be able to actually comment and interact. So that I can't see little Freedom, but I hear her. Let me.
It keeps dropping.
Robin, I'm just going to mute you out while you get yourself oriented, if that's okay.
Yeah, but it keeps dropping on me because I have a horrible signal. It's because I don't have a very good data. My data's gone.
Oh, you don't have Wi-Fi, or you don't have internet at the play at Alan's at your place? It's okay. However it goes, it's fantastic to have you here, and I've got it going. I am so excited. I think, oh darn it. Can anybody else see it? Have you seen the YouTube link?
Yes.
We're live, reviewing reviews of Fully Committed. We're doing it, guys. Yay. Do you ever actually celebrate yourself and clap for yourself when things go your way? Like genuinely? Like, I know we don't oftentimes like to admit it, but I totally do that. Absolutely. It's just like, yes, it's like round the sun. Absolutely, right? It's just like, oh, and then I heard actually when you burn sage or any kind of energy clearing kind of tool, you're not actually supposed to go in circles because that can trap energy. So you're actually supposed to go in zigzags, was what I was told. It's hearsay. I can't say for sure, but it makes sense. So as I clapped and gave space for the energy to escape, that's a very different experience than creating a ring of smoke and then locking a spirit into that circle, potentially, is what the reasoning behind not doing the circles with smudging ceremonies or practices. But like I said, that's just hearsay, but I mention it because it might be useful. So I have shared that now, and then I'm going to just I want to just actually go to it so that I can see what people are saying, if they are. And I want to share it to a few groups as well. And I wonder if anyone who has had a chance to dig into the book would like to offer a public testimony, which is different from an affidavit, though in the legal realm, just FYI, it's actually synonymous, not the equivalent. But it is just kind of to bring into your awareness the fact that a testimony and an affidavit are said to be the equivalent, but they are not the same nor equal. For a testimony is superior to an affidavit because it's real, compared to an affidavit that brings the legal fiction into the diction that you said was legit and then said you needed an illegitimate source to validate your legit claim, which illegitimizes it. Does that make sense? So an affidavit is when you bring the legal fiction in by getting a lawyer or any kind of legal personnel to sign on your behalf to verify the credibility of that which you are submitting, compared to a testimony where you say, my word is my bond, that is my final answer. Right? When you stand in the confidence of your conviction, that is a very different offering. So I just offer that because it's the sharing of reviews. But if you do it live, then you're actually offering a testimony, because this is your testimony experience of the work that I worked on for so long, right? Fully committed, the sacred sojourn of now. Very proud to be a book mama. And that's as far as I've went, though Robin Benedict gave birth to freedom herself, actually. So funny she would go gray in that moment, because when I was going through my awakening process, I actually saw the fight between the fearful and faithful playing out in the black and the white outside of myself, but then also in the gray in between, because I saw those to be the ones that try to stay neutral in between the black and white, who then are most easily overtaken by the dark, because they're the ones that have the most to lose if the light realizes the light is all things. It's information. We're already in formation if we're willing to get ourselves into formation, right?
Well said.
Thank you, Peter. So I think Robin's having some issues, but she literally had baby freedom, and her screen went gray because that was at play when I was going through my awakening. I'm just kidding. I wanted that to rhyme, but it did. And I'm glad, but sometimes I feel like a little bit of a nerd to be constantly like, hey, this is like going to set up the sentence perfectly to rhyme, and it's on time, and oh yeah, I did it again. Booyah. No, I'm just kidding. But so I just love to have fun with words. But what is your equivalent? I ask you. Because when I start getting lit up, when I start getting happy, when I start releasing dopamine of my own accord, because my insides are saying, oh my God, this is good. I don't know what this juice is, but I'm loving it. Oh, can you feel it release? Do you ever feel that? Oh, I get so excited, right? Huh?
Yeah, another level.
Next level?
Yeah, another level.
Yes.
Well,
Sometimes.
and you're here.
Nah, sometimes. But that's the high rise of emotional awareness.
I went up, Laura. Oh, let me. We're not done here.
No.
All the time. All the time.
Not all the time, but often. It's true. I do feel very blessed, but I do believe that the pharmacy of me produces more dopamine, which is another riddle. But the diddle is the fact that I don't have a fiddle to cry away my worries. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm playing around. But who was going to say a review or testimony was what we started out that whole dialogue or side trail. Woo, Heidi, yay!
Hi, Laura and everyone. Yeah, no, so Fully Committed, it's been really interesting to read. There's a lot of information in there, just about, standing in our own sovereignty and our own, power, right? And Laura really brings a lot of really great value and knowledge in terms of other ways to, really help our awareness and really, bring it back to ourselves, right? And work on our own stuff, right? Our own journey. So, yeah, there's some really insightful models that she's created in there, like the choice point there. I don't know if you want to talk about that, Laura, but I found that really helpful to think about, right? Because when something happens, we do have a choice, right? So we have a choice to kind of stay in our pattern that we always do and, go through that process and all the stuff that comes with that. Or we can, have the awareness of maybe we want to choose something different. Maybe we want to be more compassionate with ourselves and shift how we respond, right? Because we do have that power. So I really like that model specifically. So I don't know if you want to touch on that to explain that, Laura. I think it's really helpful.
Sure. So active choice point theory is from my days at St. Leonard's as one of the program facilitators. And so basically it has two rings, and I merged the two diagrams because basically one is a reactive cycle, as I've kind of labeled it and come to understand it to be, and then the other is the creative cycle. And it's like we always get triggered, something always happens, and then we always have feelings and we always have thoughts about those feelings and that come up because of what we've been triggered into. And then we go into that choice point moment where we can do what we've always done and get more of what we've always got, so that our self-image, which identifies with the behaviors that we express, then actually becomes able to be reinforced. And then the comfort zone of our identity, which is what makes us feel safe when we know what to expect, which is when we know who we are, then we know what that is. But if we don't know what this is, then how can we know what that is? So to make us question our own identity is one of the greatest techniques to actually have us undermine ourselves. Because if we're so focused on lower level needs, such as gender, for instance, like with this transhumanism agenda, which is a controversial topic, and God bless everyone that is mixed up in this mixed war between the public and private, where you're more profitable when you believe that you are the property of someone else and that they have greater say over what you have the responsibility to be able to do. It's insanity, but such is the nature of doing what you've always done to get more of what you've always got, which is where then we get back to the choice point, where it's just like you get triggered again. And now you've got hit with the momentums of all of the energies in motion from a not now moment that are showing up in the now to be resolved, which is the resolving of those emotions, which are energies in motion that are showing up now to be resolved from a not now moment that is of a vibrational match to what you've been triggered into, that has it attract that which was already in your field, to then have the momentums of energies in motion hit you in the moment that you are in, where those momentums then and you get triggered and it's a huge eruption and you're like, WTF, where did that come from? That was like nothing, and all of a sudden it triggered this giant explosion. WTF, what's wrong with me? Well, you left a lot of yourself in a not now moment, and in the now, which is the only moment that we ever live in, all of that just came back and it was dysfunctional, because it's just like, that's a whole lot more than I was expecting. It's like Jesse saying, like, there's the high rise of emotional awareness, and then there's like the high rise of Laura.
Wham,
like,
wham.
way up there. But that's because I'm like a hummingbird, which is where the logo of Peaceful Inner Warriors United comes from. It actually comes from the Paprice card logo. I loved their logo, and then I added in love, but I was gonna have free put into that space, because I wanted it to be associated with being free. And yet I didn't want to have that tattooed on me because of the monetary connections to being free. I didn't want people to think like, she's free, just take her, nope, fully not free. But absolutely put it into love, and then it became the free love tattoo that then became the brand. So that's kind of context for the hummingbird, which is my natural energetic signature. And in one of the DMT ceremonies, actually, my shaman, who was supporting me through the process, basically said, this is ironic. Interesting. Oh my goodness. And then this is so interesting because literally space just entered. Like there is a no name who is just coming in as I was going to point out about Peter and talking about how I'm like the hummingbird, and the shaman was saying, you're like up here. And then basically it's like flying here and then kind of like touching down to the darkness, which is the emotions and the emotional pot that is getting stirred when we are activated, and then emotionally calling back more of our soul to the moment, right? Like when we're actually in the moment, we're actually able to resolve things. But when we're in the darkness, it's heavy. So like we need to be able to pull ourselves back up. We need to have a little bit of support, right? It's like, how do we create that for ourselves? Because the shaman said, I was like this hummingbird that's mostly up here. And then I kind of like come down and then I back up, come down, back up. I live mostly up here, but I do touch down. And I didn't understand that analogy or reference until I started working with my lawman, and then read the Right Use of Will series by Cian Rohan. And then Cian talked about the 4 components of the creator, which is the father principle, God, or creator, source, whatever you want to call energy. And then you've got the mother principle, which is the darkness of will. And that's the free will that's trying to be contained right now. And that's what's being attacked as well. So consider that as the attack on the mother in the modern age. And then you have the heart, which is the son of the father and mother meeting in the center point of the heart, which is why it's called the core in French, of the heart being the core of our experience, for it is the center point of the toroidal field that's like a donut or an apple, where we are the apple seeds center. We are the apple seeds are the thoughts, and we're the actual core. And then life is like the meat of the apple around us. And that's kind of like the toroidal field, right? So a little bit of extra. Jesse's looking like.
Thank you for sharing that. That was actually a good concept to kind of wrap the head around more insight.
Yay! Thank you, Peter. Well, I'm very glad for that, and definitely want this to be a valuable experience for each of you. If there was anything that anyone would like specifically to bring into today's experience, I'm going to actually look to see if I see any reviews, which would have made sense to have been doing already, but here we go. Look at guys. I'm going to share my screen, and now I'm just going to type in, just like you can do. How come it's maybe I can't. Okay. Fully committed. So this is where you can find my book, and this is where you can see some of it. I liked my own book. We must like our own things first. How come it changed it? Huh. Well, before, this is my website if you are not already aware, laurajehamilton.com, or you can do ljeh.ca, or you can do ljhamilton.com. I'm going to be updating this, and then I'm going to also need to update this because it reflects the pilot project that we just finished the intuitive session for last night. But the exciting thing that I do want to share, I can't find that which I'm trying to, which is a bummer. What do you do when you live in a shoe?
Good
You don't
question.
walk on your soul. What do you do when you live in a shoe when you don't want to walk on your soul? You take them off or you paint them different, put those diamonds on. Oh, and then that reminds me of somebody, the Slytherin. Not the Slytherin, but something like that. It's something like that as the old, the ancient culture. What am I trying to find? Well, I'll show you. Since I can't find the reviews, well, that's a bummer. I was going to show you how to actually do that. Heidi, was there anything else that you wanted to contribute about what you've taken away from the book, or what you would say to somebody that was on the fence about investing their time, energy, effort, attention, money for the, you got to buy the book, you pay the shipping, or else get yourself to the store to get the book. That's effort.
I do think it's really a nice reminder about the now moment, right? Where you talk about, energies in motion, how we left stuff in the past. And really, you're right. I mean, the only time is the present, right? For our power and for us to do anything. So, yeah, it's an overall good compilation of a number of things. And there's a lot of new information in there about, the way that the laws work and stuff, and how to stand in your own, your own sovereignty, and, empower yourself through knowledge. So there's a lot of that information that I didn't know before. So that was helpful to dive into that.
Yay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you feel you can apply it to specifically in your life at this time, or is it more so a sense of comfort knowing that you have the arsenal in your tool chest now?
Yeah, it's nice to know, but I don't feel like I'm not applying it right now, but it is nice to know.
Yeah. Well, because you stood your ground and advocated for yourself and what was important to you, and you paid the consequence for your choice, for making the choice to honor and respect your belief systems, right? So it's like you've already done it once without the tools and the training. Like, imagine how you're going to deal with it now that you've got the tools, training, and support to be able to be like, yo, this woman knows who she is and is going to stand fully on my right to make claims via lawful notice that I take names of the eyes that I can see and I can put on my page, and then make claims against those men and women that violate what was claimed in the lawful notices that were used to lawfully notify the one that was violating anything that I want to claim. And if you can make a superior claim, then all the power to you. But if you are going to try to wear a suit to try to be something other than you actually are all the time, well, then you can get right out, because you've got no standing in this matter unless you've got firsthand testimony, which is where it goes back to the affidavit being of an artificial nature. And then the realization within the last few weeks, the distinction between fiction and nonfiction, between fiction and truth. What's the difference between nonfiction and truth? What's the difference?
Fiction is a story, and non-truth is making up a lie purposely or intentionally.
Nonfiction is making up a lie intentionally?
No, non-truth is that, and fiction is a story being told for the sake of entertainment in a way, or
Yes.
to mislead somebody.
Mm-hmm. And then what about nonfiction? Because my book is said to be nonfiction. It's in the body, mind, spirit category, and it's said to be nonfiction. This is said to be nonfiction.
Non-fictional is based on truth, or actual events.
Yeah, basically, nonfiction is supposed to be like non-false reality.
Mhm.
Fiction is false reality. Nonfiction is non-false reality. But what happens when we live in a universe, which we do, of polarity with an equal and opposite up to everything, up to down, and right to a left, and a right and a up or a forward, backward, all the different ways that you can go around within this universe of polarity where energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only displaced and moved, right? It can only be reordered. So when we're living in a reality where we see time to be linear, we lose sight of the fact it's actually multidimensional. Like there is a 2, 3, 4, 5 plus D reality taking place simultaneously. Well, somebody tried to join and then they stopped trying to join.
No.
Yes. That is expired. Audio's choppy. Do it. That's no problem, Robin. So I appreciate you very much for sharing those insights there, Heidi, and Peter, for you chiming in there as well. It has nearly been an hour of your life that you have invested here, and it's been nice. And I very much appreciate each of you for being willing to be in a space where the unexpected takes place, because life is unexpected, life is unknown. We never know what to expect until we're in it, and then the gray shows up again. And this is where I go back to the story of the fight between the fearful and faithful, and the gray being what is most easily manipulated. And the gray matter of the brain is actually the part of the brain that is the territory being fought for right now. The real estate being fought for in this thought war for the territory of your soul, heart, mind, and spirit, body too. The territory, the real estate, E-state being the energetic state that you are being worked within. That energetic state, the E-state. I see Dwaying on, and I think it's so interesting. I just got distracted because it's like you've got white, black, and gray. When does this happen?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Right? Ask and you shall receive. Don't place any limitations on, and you, okay, I feel like, Dwayne, if you're going to stop participants sharing, we're going to stop the sharing there, and we're going to give a nice warning to say, yeah. So just
Oh. I want to delete him.
插进去，能往别的地方插进去，感觉，你感觉可以了。
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
Oh dear. Oh, 539. 539. No.
I'm very sorry for that to everyone.
What did I just see? What did I just see?
Well, you saw real life happening live, and that I apologize for your eyes, and may you
Oh.
well, what do you do? Seriously. I had it one time when I was doing a live in California. I was at this this beautiful place. I forget It was literally it was called Hamilton Place where I was. So I just felt like I was literally in a kingdom. Like I walk out and I'm on like the beach in California. It's a beautiful place. So I'm like super high on my own energy, like no assistance of external substances required in order to me to be completely high, completely charged up. And so that whole like high rise and then Laura's high rise, like that's not actually true because I don't have any extra specifically access to higher levels than anyone else. I just happen to stay there generally longer. Huh?
Really?
Yes.
Laura,
Well, I do I do have a really big band of happiness or a big band of joy. I have a big band of joy. It's the joy band. I like to travel in the joy band. And so when we ride the wave of joy, which actually I have a book, it is not mine, but it is called Joyriding the Universe. And the reason that my lawman lent it to me, which I started to read last year, Snapshots of the Journey by Sheridan Bryce. I started reading it because of the Santa Claus Gestalt, which is fascinating. And I created a video about it. And I read a few other chapters as well. And I was going to do one chapter every day for the month of January. And I did for part of it. And then things got crazy because whenever you commit to doing more, then more shows up in your reality, right? It's just like the more good you're willing to do, then the more interference will come in to undermine you, you know? The Santa Claus Gestalt. What do I want to share with you from that? Santa Claus. May I read a little section? Oh, do you want to read? Well, why not? Joyriding the Universe. Why not ride the joy? I just want to read this little section. Some of you are from systems that didn't have Santa Claus when you were young, but you had other things. So let's play around with Santa Claus, and we are not trying to take you away from your meaning of Christmas, which is your Christ story. We're trying to get you into a feeling tone. Let's talk about Santa Claus a little bit and the Santa Claus Gestalt. What is the Gestalt in Santa Claus? Tell me all your ideas about Santa Claus. He's jolly. Okay, I want all of them. Anything you can think of about Santa. He's magical. He flies around in a sleigh. He can fit down a chimney even when there's a fire in it. What are the other beliefs about Santa Claus? As adults, you know that Santa Claus doesn't exist, so you know that it's fiction. He loves everyone. He has an abundance of toys. He knows what you're
no
thinking.
way.
He brings you the things that you ask for. Do you realize that you have just said, do you realize what you have just said in all this? We're going to define the Gestalt. As adults, you know that Santa Claus is a myth because you play Santa Claus, so you know he doesn't exist, but you do know what the belief is, but do you know what the belief is about Santa Claus? What did you just say? Generosity, love, joy, makes people happy, abundance, magical. What else did we say? That he doesn't exist. Your Santa Claus Gestalt is the one Gestalt that you have upon your planet that doesn't have any negativity in it. It was designed by children. The Santa Claus Gestalt, the entire belief system in it, was a belief through children. They believed in magic. They believed in miracles. They believed in hope. They believed in all these things. The Santa Claus Gestalt is the only Gestalt on your planet that has no negativity in it. It is also the one Gestalt in consciousness here that has every trait and attribute every one of you want. Maybe you don't want the red suit and the funny hat, but every other attribute you want is in there. Do you also know what you said? You can't use it because you don't believe in it. So here is a Gestalt with beauty, joy, love, excitement for life, magic, generosity, abundance, love. Because Santa Claus loves you whether you are naughty or nice. It doesn't matter what the song says, everybody knows that. It's a Gestalt with no judgment in it. And you can't use it because you are adults and don't believe in it. It doesn't matter whether Santa Claus really exists or not. In consciousness, he does. And that is the joke. anything that exists in consciousness you can use. Anything that exists in consciousness you can become part of, and you can use it to enhance your lives. So here is the one positive gestalt on your planet that just sits there, and the only ones that can use it are children. It seems like a shame to waste it. It doesn't matter if you believe in the funny man with the red suit. It is more the feeling that is in the gestalt, because the gestalt doesn't really have the image that much. But it does have the feeling tones. Realize that even from a Christian perspective, what is truly the birth of Christ, if it wasn't hope, if it wasn't magic? Through your metaphors, the birth of Christ matches the beauty and everything we just said about the Santa Claus gestalt. The problem with it is when you tie into it from a Christian perspective. And this is not to put down the Christian perspective, because I have grand respect for it. You tie into the whole of Christianity. Let me just cancel. No. Oh. Sorry. How do you cancel? Reminds me.
Just click do not accept. Just do the red X.
I couldn't even see where it was coming through. That was all. Sorry. Thank you. Okay. Well, maybe the call came to interrupt, to say no. Say no more. From another perspective, by believing it doesn't exist, you are also telling the rest of your reality that anything that exists within that gestalt doesn't exist in your life. When you say that Santa Claus doesn't exist, you are also saying that within your life, the magic doesn't exist. The joy and excitement for life doesn't exist. The miracles don't exist. You're telling your own life that it is void of these things. So what this actually means is that the gestalt itself is the belief system, the paradigm, the pattern, the larger pattern of belief systems that are connected, related to Santa Claus. Santa Claus becomes the myth, where we mistake the man in the myth. And we don't realize that Santa Claus himself can be he can be moved out, and another man take over, and the suit that the one man wore, the other can wear, and it's the uniform that is hired, which is why when the police recruit, they recruit uniforms. They're not recruiting men, they're recruiting uniforms. They just want the one who will conform their form into their uniform in order to perform their conformed rules, right? It's just like, it's all the forming of our substance to the forms of the reality that would turn us as creatives into reactors who were labeled, put into a box and put a label on the box. And then the label becomes what people read instead of meeting the thing that's in it, right? So the gestalt itself is what we start to identify with. And then because we think that the gestalt of Santa Claus is not real, it doesn't apply to us, it's only for kids, then we can't use joy and magic and miracles either, because that's kids play. Laura rides up here because she's really childish. It's true, to an extent. There's also a seriousness and adultness, and there's other elements that balance out the youthfulness, but absolutely that joyfulness that you describe and we joke about, because obviously there is no elevation specifically, other than there is consciousness, which is a spiral. So when you feel like you're going around in circles and circles and circles, and you're seeing the same scenery and you're getting frustrated with yourself and you don't think you're going anywhere, realize that you may not actually be just going in circles. Realize you might actually be spiraling. Because it's about the twisted effect of the staircase of emotional awareness, of learning how to actually maneuver through your emotional state so you can ride the waves. So you can be in the magic of the moment to the place where you are able to be present and to say, I saw things a different way before, and now I see them this way instead because of this, 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 and this. It's just like, how has your perspective changed? How have you moved the problem from being right pressed up close to your head where you can't really see it very well because you get down and dirty with it every time it comes around the circular sphere of your head, to then be right there again and you're suddenly down in the mud and the dirt and the dust of the depressed emotions because you're being pressed and you're depressing instead of escalating, right? Like depression escalation is not the same at all, but it felt like elevation. I feel like there's a movie. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, we're going to just like go to move it out a little bit. And then it's just like, it doesn't take quite so long, and then out further. And then it takes longer, and then out further, and it takes longer, and then out further. But like, notice how much more you can see now that it's out here compared to pressed straight up, right? That's a gestalt. That's unwinding the gestalt. It's coming to see that because we have packaged all of it into the one gestalt or the myth, that it's not limited to that myth. It's like recognizing that any man can put on the suit to be Santa Claus or Satan Claus, as I've heard others say, which makes a lot of sense if, you know, Satan is going to come down the chimney into the home, which is like break and enter, but legal because he's invited, which evil can only come in if it is invited. So we must remember that too, because that's very important to remember. Vampires can only ever come into the home if they're invited. Right? We've watched it in movies, but we need to see the reality that we are being shown as a way for black magic to work, because we have to be told what is happening in order for the ones that are going to then deceive and dupe us and use us and benefit from our loss. They will benefit from it as a gain. We need to remember where we actually are. There's a lot of messages coming in this moment, and I got distracted, if I'm honest. So I want to check in. And if you want to remind me where I was, I can finish the thought, or if it was not important, then it won't come back into the picture.
You were talking about the joy, the ride of the joy of the universe in the book and relating to yourself.
And then you say that, and then I want to go down do you mean the SELF or the CELL-F for whether we fill ourselves with fear or faith? Jesse, don't be so dramatic, darling. Or maybe just amp it up just one notch and it'll be simmering.
Your level, my level. In the middle. In the middle.
Hey, that's all right. Low draws from high, and ultimately we're all vibing together, and a rising tide lifts all boats, so we're all rising together. Peter, what were you gonna say?
I perceive also your energy and vibes are a little higher, as Jesse's saying, because you're so open and you've released so much, so your energy is flowing without any blockages.
Well, I appreciate that. I wouldn't say without any. I've certainly
Or fewer.
it, but yeah, absolutely. That's what enlightenment is. I'm not claiming to be enlightened by any means, but
right.
Enlightenment, we have to see the N of the in and the light of within and the ment of the mind for the one who has come to find the need to purify the real estate being fought for in this thought war we are in, right?
And I can add a bit of insight from listening to your audio book, and I really appreciate listening from your voice reading, especially your own journey. It felt like, taking along on your experience and journey, like a fly on the wall, and, sharing what you went through, and also breaking down the definitions and meanings of words in such a capturing way. That's appreciated. And also just like you were saying too, back to the energy, like the energy and emotions and connection, and how when we don't, be truth with them or real with them, they leak into us and make unwellness. And by, being in, coming back to a little bit, what I found too, going back to loving yourself and accepting yourself, And then that helps to bring you the freedom from that.
Yeah. And then even the word freedom itself, I was having this conversation this morning because I was talking with someone who was talking about suffering then leads to clarity and then moving to freedom. So it's just like the pain actually drives us towards pleasure.
Yes.
Because it motivates us to move. The wolf shows up in the moment because wolves know how to run in packs and also be alone. So we also need to really be clear about the need to purify the vessel, the temple, the influences.
Look at the wolf there on Jesse's wall. You see it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just like we are the wolves that are running together. We are lone wolves, largely, in some ways, each of us, to an extent, some more than others. But largely, it seems that we who have been on a different path, we've had to veer onto our own route where no one else has been able to follow suit because you couldn't wear clothes where you were going. Like you were going in, you don't wear clothes in there unless sometimes for protection, but it's only a false illusion of it anyway, because there's a lot that can happen that can say that didn't work anyway. Then you get a little soul in the world anyway, right? But that's just playing with the different concept that relates to the concept that I always go back to with the suits. Would you guys like to hear about the trial that didn't happen today and why I believe it was stayed?
Sure.
Okay.
So,
So, why I'm so excited to share this is that on April 10th, 2021, I spoke at a rally in my private capacity as a woman with all rights reserved at all times. I just hadn't known that I needed to make the claim to that right. I didn't know that I needed to claim the right. I thought I had it. I thought it was already known. I made an assumption and made an ass of you and me. And 2.5 weeks later, an officer came to deliver paperwork, he said. Except for I just made a mistake because no officer came. I saw a real man. He was wearing an officer's uniform, but he was a man. And he said he was only delivering me paperwork, just doing my job. Well, in the Nuremberg trials, that wasn't a good enough excuse either, and it won't be nowadays either. And this is what we all need to remember. Just as I warned him as I recorded him, and I got his badge number and his name, because the first name and the last name is where the joinders are made between two unequal things, which is what is real and what is fiction. Though we have been made to believe that fiction, or nonfiction rather, is the equivalent of what is truthful, what is real, and that is not true. That is a lie. Just like the man that was acting as prosecutor tried to say when he said that he had corresponded with me in any way, which was not true, and I called him on it, and he had no way to contest it because what he said was not true. And there were many others who were witness to the corruption in that whole experience, because from April 20-somethingth, May 10th, 2021 was the first notice that I sent lawfully via registered post and email, both. And nothing was received in reply, though I did give a time frame to reply, because that's what you do to lawfully show you are giving notice and giving them time to reply. Yo? So now that we know you must make your claims via lawful notice, and then you stand on those claims when you actually make a claim, that's where I'm at now. Because on October 16th now, I'm fast tracking, I have made a compensation claim for the 1.5-ish of my life that was wasted, but totally not, because it was the most valuable training I've ever received in my life. With those 20 notices that were wrote, that I know why I included every single thing that I did. And I have a lot of questions to ask, including how the Emergency Measures Act was ever actually valid in the first place. Very, very significant question, right? Well, how does that apply to a woman in her private capacity once I corrected my standing in this matter and said, I don't agree to be the implied surety for my person. And furthermore, I was a woman in my private capacity with all rights reserved at all times, common law being the unwritten and unlimited law. When it's uncapitalized, unhyphenated, it's never been put on paper, it's never been put in a box, therefore it's unlimited. When it's unlimited, such as what the common law, when it is lowercase, not hyphenated, and not capitalized, which is the equivalent of lowercase, maybe the same also. But looking at these words and these distinctions and these ways that we start to see whether it's true that two things are equal. Is it? Are they? We have to start really looking at it, because the truth is not as we've been told. This truth is stranger than fiction, we know. But when that man came to deliver paperwork, he participated in fraud, because I didn't do anything wrong when I spoke that day, except for not know that I needed to have claimed my right to do so ahead of time and have any other man or woman claim that I didn't have the right that I claimed I did. Because that would be a superior claim if they would make it, but they would have to do so as a man or woman, because that is what is real. So no man or woman wearing a suit that would have them take on a title, position, or way to seem better or more than me because of the way that they show up compared to me, who's willing to stand naked in the truth. Right? Like when we take the suits off of those men. So instead of seeing an officer of the law come to serve me a summons, which is really intimidating, instead I see a man wearing a uniform coming to deliver me paperwork and incriminate himself because he's participating in fraud. And I warned him when he was there on video, right? So now I have evidence against him. And so this whole process has been me collecting evidence. And so I've collected enough evidence that basically I had enough questions, and I stood my ground enough for them to realize they couldn't just bully me down to the ground. I wasn't going to submit. When they tried to trick me and ask me what's your date of birth? Did you know that birthing is an activity or a motion of the ships, which is where Admiralty Maritime Law comes in, which is where we're flipped into being dead cargo, ported by the dock that brought us into this world in the first place through the porthole? So all of that was the journey I went on to be able to stand my ground and know who and whose I am, and to not be afraid of this woman said to wear the crown, who is no longer even alive, in fact. So how could she stand and say that I had insulted her in some way? Because that's what a complaint is, isn't it? At the end of the day, to say, I don't like how you treated me, I'm complaining, right? That's what these charges are. I'm going to charge your credit card because I don't like how you're empowered. You've got too much power. I want some of your power. I'm going to take your power. I'm going to see if you'll let me. This is like, what if we actually looked at corporations like that? It's like that annoying like brat that's like a big bully that's just trying to like, scrunch up their nose. Like, what if we created a character to contextually see the corporations that are trying to feed off of us, to harvest our energy, like I talk about in the chapter on energy harvesting. Has anybody read that chapter? Originals have no status, energy harvesting, magic and human trafficking, chapter 24. It's on page 175. If you have, amazing. And if you haven't, you have time until you don't. Right? Like, isn't that the whole point? We've got 86,400 seconds that we win every single day until we don't. What are we going to do with it? How are we going to invest it? How are we going to build a legacy where the leg I see is mine own? I stand for myself. And in the process, I do it for everyone else too, because I give the example for those who are around me to see the lighthouse that continues to stand despite the storms that are in my midst, just as you do too, right? I stand and I beam and I fly at my higher level and I touch down and I grab more aspects of myself and I bring those back to integrate. Like Heidi, you were saying, it's nice to be able to do in the mastermind experience of the group context with the special practice pilot program, which we're going to launch another one of in November, actually. So I'm going to share my my screen here. Oh, I was just creating a blog, but my people didn't, my email list didn't actually end up receiving it. But this video on YouTube, Maximize Dopamine by Andrew Huberman, this is the cave, Plato's cave analogy. If you're familiar, I mentioned it in the book, but it's basically the analogy of these ones who are in the cave are watching these projections on a screen of shadows that have been created by ones who would like to see these ones never leave this cave of the known reality that is so limited and kept away from what is real and love and bright and sunny. And so as these ones try to get out and away from there, this one is the one that is really chasing pleasure, which is what dopamine is said to do. Instead of actually being the pleasure hormone, it is said that dopamine is what we get from the pursuit itself. Serotonin, I believe, is the happy chemical that is part of what Jesse keeps referring to me being at the higher levels within the high rise for. But that serotonin, like this is literally, how do we become the chemical pharmacy that can look after ourselves and self-generate? Like when I told that doctor that I was going to self-regulate, when I was trying to get out of the experience that I had got locked in 2019, when my reality got completely flipped upside down, that doctor personally guaranteed me I would fail to self-regulate. And when I did go to the emergency room, too much sleep would make me depressed and too little sleep would make me depressed. Best advice I could have got, because self-regulation is key and I was not self-regulating as well as what I could have been. So granted, this was the weekend. I was a mermaid. That actually, this is very relevant because this Viking is just beautiful. And Arden is, she's a good friend that hosted the party with another good friend. So, and these characters are also fantastic. But why this is actually relevant is the fact that because of the fact I went with Jordy, and he was the Viking, my mermaid costume actually transformed into the story of the siren, who wanted also a better ending than the existing mythology, because ultimately the siren is said to call the sailors over the edge and to crash their ships because they're so focused on the sirens of these beautiful women, which were apparently actually originally some kind of bird-like creature, but then were turned into the mermaids. So then because he was a Viking, I said I was a siren, which was kind of cute. But also actually it's the taking on of a title is my point and reason for mentioning it, because in actually taking on the title, then I took on a role and responsibility other than I originally had when I was just a mere mermaid. So it's just another example of how when we take on a title because of what we want to gain from contracting our substance of being free into something of a more limited nature to keep it more contained, then we can actually create a sacred container, right? Like which sacred relationships and partnerships do. So this message was the one that was going to go out to those who are subscribed. This is my back end on Aweber. So I don't remember why or what I was trying to get to. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Oh, no. I wanted to share Meetup. That was what I was trying to get to. So if anyone's not already familiar who may be watching this replay, the Peaceful Inner Warriors United group over on Facebook. This is my brother and I when we were kids playing. You got to go, Katya? Okay, amazing. I didn't see that, but that's because I don't have the chat directly. You guys were beautiful. Oh, yay. Well, I am grateful that Katya was able to come, and definitely wanted to touch base with her about the Inner Kingdom podcast that we were doing earlier in the year. We might get back to at some point. Chuki's here. This is the next event we've got coming up. So I've got book signing opportunities coming up, and this is going to be super exciting because it does tie into the gray matter, which is of course when Chuki is coming in, because the gray matter is that flexible part that we have an opportunity to start creating new neural pathways within. So when we actually start thinking of the mind like a field of rye that is really tall grass. Hello. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much. Laura, it's me, Chuki. It only took me half an hour to get into this.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I saw your message, but I'm trying to stay present, and yeah, but I saw your call and I couldn't answer because we were on this call naturally.
Right? I know. That's what I thought.
So I apologize, but it's great to have you here, Chuki, and thank you for showing up. I was just about to mention unpacking the gateway process report. Are you familiar, anyone on the call, about the gateway process report? Which is basically a CIA agent's report after 20 years of studying people that were pushed to the absolute limits of what they had capacity to go to. So it did break many people. Psychologically, they entered into no man's land, so to speak, where you go too far beyond the beyond and then you don't get back from there. So really making sure that you have the grounding here in the physical vessel is what makes those astral projection experiences possible without having some serious soul severing or disconnection experience down there. Chuki, was there something you wanted to add to that?
Oh, no, it's fascinating. I'm just going to get some water.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, so if anybody's interested, Jordy and I are going to actually be unpacking that report with anyone else that are going to be interested in it. So I've got all of the information there. No one else has signed up yet, but this is literally, you type in CIA gateway process, and you'll be able to find that. And I would imagine I had linked it. I didn't, so I'll have to do that. But that will be on Monday, the 7th of November, and would love to have you on. Sorry, I got off of there. Album 23 is going to be the next project. So we're just kind of wrapping things up with album 22 plus, which is the project that launched in July. Not so much launch or wrapping things up, but just kind of bringing forward everything that was done with album 22 plus album 22 plus. You can get information about it at album22.com. So I'll put the link in the conversation there. You're welcome to check out 44 songs so far in those two albums. And now we're going to create album 23, but this time we're going on an experience. So you can't just submit your songs and create the album, because creating an album's not my intention or not my focus as much as actually going on the experience. So I'd love to have anyone who is musically inclined be part of that, or if you just want to be part of a mentorship component for artists, or if you've got some young people, would really like to connect, which is part of what we're going to be talking about with the Gateway Process report as well when we unpack that. And then on the 22nd of November, we're going to get into the next project. So this is where we're going to get the details. I'm going to lay it all out, and I've got some time before then. Weaving strong webs within. So that's your self-worth, self-esteem, self-belief, and sense of security within. So if you haven't seen it before, you'll never be able to unsee it. Once I say it, security has either an in front of it, so either has an in front of it, insecurity, or it has an inner in front of it, which is inner security. Inner security feels good because we have it inside of us. We're not seeking it out here, so it can't be taken away from us, which is why inner work is so precious. No one can take that away from us. We've earned every one of those wounds emotionally. Those scars that we've picked up along the years, we've earned every single one of them. We know the backstory. We can talk about other characters that were involved if we wish to. We've earned all of those when we went inner, when we went within. But when it's still on the outside, it can be taken away, which is why statuses are out there, and standing is what we do as part of the legacy that we get to see with the legs that we stand on as the me and ye who are here to be the ones that came to be the ones that we were waiting for the whole time. So there we go. That is what's coming in January. In November and January. And what's super exciting is we're getting back, and we're going to do the next peer support on the Port Dover Pier on the third Sunday of the month at 2 p.m. So this is where people can come to Port Dover and gather, and we are simply going to be peers supporting one another on the pier in Dover right here. So there's a statue, and it is not showing here specifically, but this is going to be fun. So I hope you can join for that. And I will also say there will be more opportunities coming with all of the other things that are coming up. Peaceful Inner Warriors United is an initiative that is growing. And so I'm grateful if you've checked out the meetup group. If you subscribe there, you can get the details. If you're not already subscribed to ljeh.ca and want to get updates, I will do better at actually getting the message out before the call instead of after the fact. But I really appreciate the fact that we were a small but mighty few in the room and in the view today. So each of you mean so much to me, truly, because I am grateful that we can connect on common ground at a higher level. Like, we might be joking, Jesse, about like me being at like a higher level, but like actually like frequency and resonance, we're all in this together. So it's just like, we're all like the heartbeat. You don't want a flat line. Like, if you got a flat line, you're dead. What did you say, Peter?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Flat's no good, and it makes them for awful sounds or no sound.
Right? It's just like, if I hear that, I'm looking around because it's just like, it's not my butt, it's somebody else's, right? And then that's when we see the rebut and how in the sentence clause, but actually cancels what came before it and gives the real priority of the sentence. So realize that with life sentences or death sentences, that's where we have to start seeing the connection between whether we are letting someone rebut our point. I have somebody coming in that I don't know who they are specifically. So I'm letting you know that something interesting may happen. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, Jesse's covering his eyes in preparation. I'm just gonna make sure I know how to remove immediately. If end report.
Necessary.
Yeah, well, we had, I don't know whether you were watching, but if your eyes were temporarily overtaken by some porno. That happened on the call already earlier. So Nugent, if you would, I apologize if I didn't get your name right, but if you would say hello and make yourself known. We just want to make sure that you're safe to have on the call and that you're a real man or woman who is here to contribute. And if not, we're going to just take you out because we want to be with people we can see or know for sure are real.
Unreal.
Unreal. Yeah, we're thinking you're not actually legit, and we're going to take you out before you cause a problem unless you speak now or forever hold your peace. We'll give you a count to 3, 2, 1. Thank you and have a great day.
Okay.
All right, perfect. So don't report because he didn't do anything wrong, but unless you're willing to show your face, Peter, I know you and I appreciate you for all of your support. So you're safe to have in there. But you were going to say something before that happened and I didn't want that to be a replay of last time. So you live and you learn and you stop walking into those manholes if you read that chapter.
Manly manhole.
Laura, there's a couple questions or comments on the YouTube.
Is there?
Yeah.
What are they?
Chad Parker said good morning to Santa and all his elves.
Oh, yay. Chad's with us. Great.
And Amanda Williams asked, what did you say in response to the date of birth question?
Ew, Amanda's coming in too, which is fantastic. To the date of birth question, I responded with the date I was born was the 10th of October. So being born is what we do with living and breathing souls. And then being birthed is the movements of ships, which these are the vessels we're transporting ourselves through this world in. So, dear Lord, okay, out of here. And I apologize. It's not like anybody hasn't seen a penis before, but honestly.
What happened?
There was a penis picture.
Don't worry about it.
What happened? It's not even worth talking about. Reported. Pardon?
No te preoccupes. That's Spanish for don't worry about it.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So we're getting lots of reports on this, which is good. But yeah, so that is so fascinating because Amanda was the name of the one that came in, and it's the same as the one that asked an intelligent question.
Weird. So, yeah, that's weird.
I thought it would be, somebody coming in for the answer. But however it goes, I appreciate you for, bearing with the process of vetting and filtering out those that are real and in it to be part of an experience together compared to those that just want to get their 5 seconds of fame, right? And that's kind of goes back to actually the archetypes and the sacred and scared aspects of those archetypes. Because when the scared prostitute is on the throne of our soul throne, it's just like we're going to sell ourselves out at a lower price than we would if we believed in ourselves enough to know that we would actually get it. Okay, this is Parker, so I'm assuming it's Chad, but when you assume, you make an ass of you and me. So Chad, if this is you and you want to connect your view so we can see you while I've got my name on the report. To write a report, did you write a report or are you going to report them? Which report are you porting? Because isn't that how we port, which is carry things, compared to port with the birthing of boats, right? It's not given an option to even see the microphone at this point, from what I can see. But yeah, so with all of this, I'm grateful. Dear Okay. As if, okay, no one else is coming into the meeting. And this is why I don't share the meeting details. But they're using names of ones who leave comments, must be what it is. And then some bots are using the names of the trolls or of the real people. And then they're trolling with those. Which, did you guys see that I had done in there? It says about the con and troll. So on page 204, troll is to harass, criticize, or antagonize someone, especially by provocatively disparaging or mocking public statements, postings, or acts. Con is something such as a ruse used deceptively to gain another's confidence. So we have to stop throwing each other away and keeping our sphere of influence small and closed off, because that is how wars rage on. And the poem "First They Came" becomes reality for those who never thought the war would come their way. We'll feel scared of others if we're scared of so many aspects of ourselves that we stop trusting ourselves to do the right thing when we're called to do it. And because we are insecure, we project that energy onto others and look for the worst instead of the best. We limit ourselves and our possibilities because we buy into the lack, limitation, and scarcity mentality that we tie our identity to, when the truth is that our outer reality reflects the world within. While insecurity makes us feel unsafe and insignificant, inner security helps us feel at home wherever we are, because we have a portable sense of home or safe zone we bring with us, and we trust ourselves enough to listen to the voice of intuition that lets us know danger or evil is in our midst when we feel it. James is trying to get in now, and unfortunately we're going to say no, because how do you tell when you've put the information out into the public who it is that is coming into your privates then, when you've put it out publicly? I put on the accent sometimes just because it's a bit ridiculous, but also because it lightens up the fact that it goes back to the story of truth and lies, having a bath in the fountain.
Yeah.
Right? It's like truth and lies are having a bath in the fountain. James, if you're watching, I've denied you because you came late to the party and I don't know who you are. So I'm sorry, but come early next time and we can vet you first before you come, because we got to check you over. Do you ever make the connection between the vets at the pets and then the vets for the veterans that are ultimately wearing the dog chains of the elites, because they are no longer allowed to be the men and women that wear the chains? Instead, they're then defined by the name that they're given, or the chain that would say what number they are, and you're converted into something other than you were before. I understand, and I don't mean no disrespect to anyone that has taken on that status, but it is to point out the fact that the man or woman is converted. And I do actually talk about that in the book when I mention sitting down to watch the movie 1917 with my papa. If you remember, when you read through, you'll remember it now, because basically in it, I say the fact that you know how in that movie it says, and other ones too, that the way that we win this war is with last man standing. But actually that's not true, because no man or woman will actually be who stands if it is a man or woman acting as a soldier who is standing there in place of who they actually are, brandishing arms so that their hands cannot take up the pen to clear their name and defend the lands that we've all come here to be the keepers of, right? Earth being heart in a different order. And a disordered mind would have us find ourselves in depressed states. Sorry, who was going to say something?
I wanted to mention how important it is to do what you did just now. Look at the root origins of words. It's an absolutely fascinating experience and really helps understand on the in the inner sense somehow or other. It really gets you in the inner sense. And that the first time I found was finding out about this, I looked up the word message, and the fourth meaning was voice of an angel. How powerful, the powerful origin of that word is.
It's the mess of the ages. That the messenger comes to shift with the message, right?
Yes, I think so.
James and Jane are trying to get in now. I'm sorry, and I'm going to keep it a closed container because that was literally, if you caught it as I was reading it, that was what it was saying. It's like evil's in the midst. Are we going to let it in? It has to be invited in. I have to click admit in order for those who would like to shit on our show to be able to go away, right? It's like, and if you're not trying to do that and you're watching this and you're saying, I was waiting in there and why didn't you just let me in? I didn't do anything wrong, right? It's just like, well, I'm sorry, but others did and they tainted the experience.
Right. They're pranksters. They're trolls, actually.
Precisely. So there's a lot of that, and we have to be careful about who we're going to let in. Because
but also too, I mean, the presence here, that happened a few times, but we didn't let it bother us. We sort of were like, oh, haha. Yes. But yeah, so that awareness that it's around, but not letting it in, like you said, but not letting it affect your frequency, right?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So props to us. Thank you for being able to be part of a mature group of men and women who have come together. And I appreciate the support truly and sincerely from the bottom of my heart. And the book as well, I hope that it adds tremendous value to you. And we will continue to gather for these kind of opportunities. And I hope that more reviews will start coming in. Like I said, I am going to create a challenge where you can get tarot. It's going to be a draw, an entry into a draw for a tarot reading or an oracle card reading, a 30-minute reading in the month of December, based on activity in November. So if you buy one of the books, you get an entry for every book that you buy. They're $25 each, plus shipping from me directly, or you can do 5 for $100 if you prefer, and I'll send those out directly, plus shipping. So that's one option. And then also, if you are going to come to opportunities to connect like these, then you'll get another entry into the draw. And at the end of November, then I'll do the draw for the reading, and we'll come together and I'll do some cards just to kind of see where you're at. And you can ask a question or however it goes. It's very much intuitive. So we'll just go with the flow and see what story the cards tell. So that's a fun opportunity that we're doing. And we've got lots of events coming up. I think there's like 20 events coming up that I've posted on there. So you can definitely get lots of entries, and I look forward to connecting with you. Anybody that isn't already subscribed, like I said, to my website, ljeh.ca, please make sure that you do get yourself subscribed over there. And if you leave a review, then I will give you 3 entries into the draw on top of when you do the book. I appreciate that. And then I'll make a point system for signing up for the course that's launching as well. And I'm going to get all of this information out there, but I'm doing the best that I can, to be honest. And I've dropped the ball a few times in a few different areas, and I've picked it back up, and I just keep on running with it as best as I can. And I forgive myself along the way because I'm doing the best that I can. And if I could do better, I would do better. Right. And so, like, when we do the best we can, we know we didn't leave anything held back. And so then we can rest in the fact that we did enough. And then it reinforces the story of our own enoughness, which was the universal story and has been the universal story that has crippled us collectively. And that reminds me of Carolyn Miss's story about the energetic patterns of dis-ease and paradigms culturally, which ties into the Santa Claus gestalt, and the fact that Theodore Roosevelt was elected into office at the time when polio was really huge, and he had been affected by polio. So everything about his life had been impacted by that dis-ease, which is the cellular disharmony of not feeling safe within the body. And there is the description of his ailments and the connection to the cultural psychosis or the cultural belief system, the cultural paradigm, the cultural gestalt, cult you all, cult you are, culture, the gestalt pattern, the bigger energy behind it, all of that comes with it. So then we start to separate the behavior from the concept or the experience, for instance. So that's a different example. But I am aware we are 4 minutes from the top of 2 hours together, and I want to be respectful of everybody because your time is precious. It is your life. And I have shared a lot of information about what's coming, and I am so grateful to each of you. And so I really just want to appreciate each of you and see if there's anything else that anyone would like to contribute before we shut down the live experience over on YouTube, and send blessings to everyone before we do.
What happens next?
Well, there's lots of opportunities coming up. So with Meetup, I've got about 20 events over on there, Chuki.
Oh, I meant the next hour here.
The next
Is it-
hour.
Wow.
Well,
Yes.
we already actually have been here for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Mhm. There you are.
Oh, you're 3 hours behind because you're in California, right?
No, I'm in Spain.
You're in
I
Spain?
came to, yeah, I think I explained that to you.
Yes, you
I
did.
came to Spain for the winter, and I'm in the bottom of Spain. I'm in Andalusia, and I feel so lucky that I was able to connect even briefly. But I just wanted to ask you if it fit in, if it was possible to say before you ask me questions about the book,
Yes,
to
please.
say anything about traveling in Palestine in the 1990s. I went almost 8 times, I think. And it's called Children from Heaven, and it records many conversations and observate with many people in the whole region. I tried to get around everywhere in what's known today as Israel proper, the West Bank. And I was one very eventful, memorable day in Gaza, the Islamic University, and other places. It was just incredible. So anyway, I invite, it's all, you can write, just, it's only $6. It's an ebook, and it's on all kinds of websites that sell ebooks.
Good for you
Or
to
you can buy it in book form.
If you want to share the link for it, that would be awesome. Would love for people to be able to gain access to
I've
that.
got a link at the end of my emails, at the end of every email. I don't know how to link it to you now.
Just copy and paste it. So just
Huh?
just copy the section that you include with your emails and then just post it into the chat.
Oh,
Just copy and
Right.
paste.
So,
okay.
so it,
Oh, yeah.
so an easy way you could do it is you could highlight the link and then just go Control C on your keyboard. And then when you come over, when you come here, you could just go Control V, which is paste.
I know all that. Thank you so much. But what I can't figure out is how to get to my email without leaving you all.
Oh, don't worry about it then.
I know, that's the problem, because my
Message
computer
it to
doesn't.
me on message it to me on Facebook, and I'll post it in there for everybody.
I will. I'll send you the link directly to your Facebook.
Perfect. Perfect.
And yeah, you can order it in any bookstore on Ingram or whatever they use.
Yeah.
But I'm going to send you the link into your Facebook. Yeah.
You sent it. Actually, I've got it right here. Great.
Great.
All right. Good. Perfect. So here's a link to Chuki's book, and I'll make sure we get that over
That's
on.
it. You don't have to order it from Amazon. They're terrible. There's many other ebook sites.
Well, if you get there before the end of it, Chuki, then you can send the information in the chat group. Otherwise, you can just post it onto the video.
No, this is fine. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for your interest. If you have, it's just an amazing part of the world. It's ancient and modern and very positive and very negative all at the same time. You don't know, it's mind-boggling.
I look forward to reading it, and I had it in my cart, and then I added a whole bunch of other things in my cart, and then I got buyer's remorse before I had any with all of it, and I just kind of left my cart empty because I was trying to get to the $35 amount, and then it's like you just like find other things, right? And it's just like, oh God.
I don't know why my image is frozen. Maybe it's something to do with my computer and being here. I don't know.
I don't know. It could be stop video, and then you restart it. Oh, I could have stopped the video on those people with their penis on the screen. That would have been a good thing to consider. All right, next time we know. So we just do the best we can and go with the flow as best as we can. And I really commend each of us for being responsible and getting through those uncomfortable situations, and sending love and not pity specifically, but for anyone that needs to come into something that's actually contributing, and bring in sex and vulgarity, not because sex is vulgar in and of itself, but the inappropriate placement of it is in this context. So really just kind of sending those souls that felt the need to come into our experience and try to taint it the way that it happened, because they are definitely in need of it. And even though, not all sex is equal either, right? It's just like if you've got love in the sex, it completely changes the sex that you've got. So whether that was part of what was brought into this scene, I would imagine that it was probably more about performance than about the sacred container between the two that are doing it. But hey, we're going to not analyze any of that, and I'm going to take it out of the replay so I don't get banned when I share this recording. What were you saying, Chuki?
Yes, I was laughing at the idea of having to deal with this whole issue. You certainly don't want to be banned because of outside pranksters trying to,
Right? It's like YouTube, I was violated too. All the participants that were in it were violated. We were all violated. Don't violate me further by saying that like you can't see my video because somebody put their dick on the screen. It's not my fault. What do you do? I can't be held responsible.
It's such childlike behavior. It's like a naughty little 8-year-old would do.
Well, this is the thing. They're just looking for attention.
Yes, attention seekers.
Right? This is the hierarchy of motivational needs. And that actually ties into the dopamine. And then we're going to wrap up because we're already 4 minutes over. And so we're going to wrap it up at 5 after and just simply say, with the dopamine and the childlike and the hierarchy of motivational needs, survival, safety, belonging, respect, and self-actualization is the hierarchy. And when you're at the level of, you need to show your penis in order to create a disruption and get a reaction, you're not even at the level of belonging. you're even below that. So respect is not something that you're aiming at, right? It's not even on your radar if you're down at survival and safety or belonging. So when you're focused at the lower levels, which is where we've been culturally being directed, we have to really see how that's playing out culturally too, with what even showed up here, because this is a pattern that culturally is prevalent, or at least common enough for it to not have been totally upsetting and, you know, have thrown us for a loop. But anyway, we've been sat for a long time. I appreciate each of you so much. If you want to give me some feedback, or, you know, let me know how I could make sessions like this something that benefited you in a way that could be more regular, consistent, or to really just support you in your process, and also help me with getting my book out. If you share it with some friends, let them know what's going on with Peaceful Inner Warriors United and all the training opportunities that are coming up with that. Like I mentioned, with what I shared with opportunities coming up, I very much appreciate that and appreciate each of you. And I will bid you adieu.
Thanks a million, Laura,
Hey,
for all your energy. Hope.
Thanks, Laura.
thank you, Laura.
Have a beautiful day.
Everyone, oh my goodness, I feel so blessed by each of you. Thank